Hello and welcome. Today we'll be continuing the guide to Acrobatic Mutators. Acrobatic Mutators are mutators that require players to adjust their playstyles. Last time we covered the first 6, so let's cover the other ones today, starting with Black Death. Black Death affects 3 nearby units upon death, range 5, which means that if you use units with more than range 5, you will not get infected. After combat, you should isolate those who are still losing HP, so you'll need to be good at picking out the ones that have health bars that look different from everyone else. This is very noticeable with like Han and Horner Reapers and Zerglings. For Rainer, you want to use bunkers, tanks, and mines. Infected mines will die, but the Black Death won't spread to burrowed mines because they are still invincible while burrowed. For Kerrigan, your workers on creep won't die, and units in Omega Worms won't die either. And you should have extra queens for healing so that Kerrigan also never dies. For Artanis, you should use Tempest and Unbound Fanatics for attack waves. For Swan, use Static D and Factory Fleet. They don't care about Black Death. For Zagara, her units are more or less sacrificial, so just don't let Zagara herself get infected. For Vorazun, with P2, most of your units won't die to Black Death, but you should still put a forward nexus anyways so that your units don't affect probes. You will rely on cannons and Black Hole for defense, and you may have to sacrifice a few Corsairs or DTs to deal damage with each attack wave. For Carax, you want to use Static Defense and Observers. Even if a few units are affected by Black Death, Repair Beam will keep them alive for long enough so that they'll still be useful. For Avather, do not make ultimate evolutions. Use either P1 Swarm Hosts or Ravagers or Air units, or P2 Swarm Hosts, but remember to turn off the Automorph. For Alarak, you want to rely on Overcharge, Wrathwalkers, and Ascendants. Only Alarak should be infected. He can eat Supplicants to stay alive, and if you have more than a minute, sacrifice Alarak. So mostly your units, long-range units, will be staying behind him, and if any of your Supplicants or Havocs get infected, then you just put them in front with Alarak and he'll eat them. For Nova, you want the HP regen upgrade and rely on Raven turrets and Liberators. Liberators have long range. Use Airstrike as well so you don't get infected. For Stukov, your Infested Trail doesn't care about Black Death. If your tanks eat an infested unit, your tanks will also get infected, so be careful about that. Phoenix P2 doesn't care about losses, so you can just keep fighting through Black Death. If one of your suits gets affected by Black Death, switch suits and the Black Death will be gone. For Dahaka, use Creeper Hosts and Primal Worms and Greater Primal Worms. Han and Horner relies mostly on Strike Fighter and Top Bar, and then for the rest, you just like kill them with Reapers and then throw away the ones that have been infected. For Tychus, P2 doesn't die to Black Death, but it's still risky. It's probably better to use P0 so that you can keep using Rattlesnake's healing or Nikara's healing. Normally, Black Death stops auto regen, but Medevac heal is special, so you can use a Medevac to heal your units for a lot of HP. Rattlesnake with his healing stick upgrade out-heals Black Death, and if you're not using P2, you should use Nikara as well. For Zeratul, mass cannons, of course. Zeratul can hide in the Void Array and just pop out when it's time to search for an artifact. For Stetman, overcharge a green zone to stay alive. You can mass repair Gary or use Infestor Tentacle on Gary during downtime to keep him charged up. For Manx, use ESOs, bunkers, and top bar. Next, Fear. If you're using an army, your units might lose control and it'll be very annoying. However, Static D is unaffected. Enemy units that attack frequently, such as Marines and Lings, can instill fear in your units rather easily, so those comps are surprisingly scarier than usual. However, if you use shields and shield-like abilities, you won't get feared. For example, Artanis' Shield Overcharge or the Immortal's Barrier, Swan's Defense Matrix on his Science Vessels, Alarak's Structure Overcharge on a War Prism, Nova's Defensive Drone, Nikara's Shield from her ult gear, Zeratul's Enforcer's Barrier, and the shield from the Overcharged Green Zone. Units who have been blessed with those barriers won't get affected by fear for a short time. Turkey shoots. There are no infested turkeys or turking if you're not on Oblivion Express. There will still be the turkeys running around and you will still kill them for supply. You will start with free supply. So if you build overlords, pylons, and depots, you're not going to get anything from them. And this is a fun mutator because if you're going solo, you can actually get up to 300 to 400 supply. You want to make static defense in your base at least 3, because if you only have 1, you might get surrounded. Your units will auto-attack turkeys when you're supply blocked, and if you do that, you will anger the turkeys and they might ravage your mineral line, so it's safer to put like 3 cannons in your mineral line just to make sure that your stuff doesn't die. When the turkeys become your enemies, they will also trigger self-destruction, fireworks, etc. For Sharing's Cairng, the numbers can be a bit confusing. The top number is the supply of both players, and the bottom number is your own supply. So you will need to make lots of depots, overlords, and pylons to get out of the supply block. Hero-based commanders don't have such a problem with this. For Naughty List, units that spawn other units will take more damage when their spawns kill units, but the spawns themselves don't take increased damage. So that means like Abathur's locusts will be very, very strong here. Hero units will suffer. You want to treat them as precious spellcasters because as they kill more things, they're going to take more damage. That means like Super Gary, Kerrigan, Zagara, they're going to just cast their spells and then kind of run away. For Alarak, he is usually in the front, so you want to rely on Ascendants and Wrathwalkers instead of himself, because every time he gets hit, he's going to eat a whole bunch of stuff. For Tychus, you want to rely more on Sirius and Vega, because Vega can steal things, Sirius has disposable turrets. Tychus and Nux will mainly be used to one-hit kill waves, and they might die right afterwards, or you can medevac them to safety immediately after using their abilities. For Zeratul, your cannons and monoliths and their projections don't share kills and debuffs, so if your projections kill things, your cannons don't get hurt more later on. Not that they will get hurt most of the time anyways. For Polarity, in general, you just use units that have high HP so that you can stall until your ally kills his share of enemies. You also want to use high mobility commanders and faster moving units so that you can go and help your ally, or you may have to split your army. With Just Die, Polarity will swap after one death. Props that spawn from touching your units won't have any polarity, so either player can kill them. Same with the units spawned from rifts in Scythe of Amon. Finally, we have Boombots. Voice chat makes this mutator less difficult, of course. Workers move faster than Boombots when the Boombots are at their default speed, so you can patrol a worker in a circle around them. You want to spot Boombots before they get close, so you have plenty of time to defuse them. For Raynor, you want to scan or drop a Marine to see the numbers. For Kerrigan, an Omega Worm can tank 2 explosions, so you have a bit of time to see the numbers. Artanis, Carax, Phoenix, and Zeratul have observers, so they can put these observers over cliffs to see the Boombots earlier. For Swan, he can do this with factories or Hercs. Hercs have quite a bit of vision. For Zagara and Stukov, they put overlords over cliffs, so they can spot the Boombots. For Vorazun, you want to put stasis wards or oracles. She doesn't really have anything good early on. Abathur can also put overlords over cliffs, and he can use toxic nests as well, as long as you turn off the autocast, then you will always have vision when they pass by. Alarak can put war prisms or destroyers over cliffs to see the Boombots. War prisms are probably better, so you can still F2. Nova has P3, so you can just walk around and see them. You can also use ravens or float your barracks. Dahaka has mutas. You can also send in locusts to spot them, or use a greater primal worm. Han and Horner can use a strike fighter. You can also put magmines in an area where Boombots will go, but enemies won't. The magmines won't get triggered by the Boombots. Tychus has nothing good. So yeah, if you mind control an air unit, you can do the same as other commanders, but otherwise he doesn't have anything good. Stetman can use Stedalites, which are very good. And Manx can use ESOs or drop a trooper in the path of the Boombots. Alright, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this kind of content. Share this with your friends who have trouble with these mutators. And while you're here, why don't you check out part 1 if you haven't done so. See you next time.